Angel of Authenticity here at the graveyard near my house. I'm here to talk about how the federal government has a piece of our ass even when you die, and why. And about how the federal government, our government entity, is exactly that, an entity. It's being ruled by Satan, and it is Satan and his gang. And I'm going to try to explain why. So we have the cemetery here, and a friend of mine died recently. And the whole reason that I even learned any of this or got sparked into it was because, like, people that can't afford gas money and things had to come up with all these thousands of dollars in order to bury the mother and to be able to see her and then bury her, or cremate her, I mean. So she don't even have a burial plot. And it made me wonder, you know, like, how do people come up with this money? Why do they feel so pressured into things like a double-padded coffin or, you know, the fancy satin-lined whatever? Or how about the coffin that has 3 locks instead of 2? I really don't understand why a coffin would need a pillow or locks on it. Or I guess the proper word is a casket, because they are different. A casket's airtight, and a coffin just has a lid that sits on it, I believe. But anyway, and it's a different shape too. But okay, so the point is, people die, and then you got to call the coroner or the mortician place. And in Indiana, that's the only person that can transport a dead body. So no matter what, if you die naturally in the hospital, you can't just be transported by your family or whatever. You have to pay for that service for this man to come and take your loved one away, and then they take them to their basement and do all the creepy things with it. If you ask me, really, dressing up a dead body and making them look like RuPaul's drag show is insanity. Because for one, whatever clothes they bring you to put you in is what you get buried in. And they could really desecrate your body like that in a lot of ways. I mean, I could just go on about that forever. Never mind the necros. You know, so there's a lot of corruption in that industry. You have to almost be a dead guy to do that for a living. But then I was researching it, and I found out that it's not, there's no law, not any of the 50 states, because it does vary a lot by state with burial procedures, but not in any of the 50 states do you have to have your blood drained, embalmed, or be in a casket or any kind of a container. You could be shrouded in a sheet and buried into the ground. So the federal government, though, has to have their nose in everything. They say, yeah, all that's legal. There's no laws against it. I don't know anybody that's had a loved one die that didn't cough out all that money. Otherwise, they hold your remains, which is kidnapping a dead body, which is insanity. The federal government regulates it in other ways, like when the cemeteries go broke because they're honest people and they don't want to double bury graves or dig up other people, which they do if you own your plot or not, because the federal government will take it over, and then now it's a whole different gig. And I don't think a lot of people realize that happens to them when they own their plot. You pay taxes on that plot after you're dead. They won't let me put a tent up on a loved one's grave, you know, so my in-laws could see me on top or anything. The father-in-law would be right, though. We would never get a place of our own like that. But Generation X ain't got nothing, and it's because of tyranny and our federal government entity. And there's no laws against burying somebody with their blood and all their stuff. And now we all know what an organ is worth anymore. And at one point, I had read a stat that 65% of Ivy League college students would donate an organ to get out of student aid debt. And that deterred me from college and debt, because that's pretty extreme. Them are our doctors, our lawyers, our judges, our highest of the high, our most prestigious that are living in America would donate an organ to get out of that debt. So that is really a binding thing there. They'll go after your grandkids and kids for that debt. That's the only debt like that. So that's a red flag right there. I mean, if that's not a red flag, I don't know what is. So if you die in the state of Indiana, like my roomie, he wants to be buried next to his dog on his rural land in the rural Indiana, and doesn't see anything wrong with that, because he hates the government. He won't pay taxes or nothing like that. He won't give them any money because he'd be donating to Satan and his gang, see? And you're a fool if you don't realize that the government entity is Satan. Every dime you pay the court system, every bit of it, every time you sue somebody, that's making them stronger. And if you disagree, you're wrong, because if you die here and you want to be buried naturally on your land, say, that the family's owned for 100 years, say, you can't do it. You could die naturally, a doctor could sign off on your death certificate, you got to have that. Okay, that's fine, that's not a hard thing, you know, if they die naturally, there's no sinister shit going on. We're like, oh no, and the coroner don't even have to mess with it, they just sign it off and say natural causes, and the coroner will decide if they need to do an autopsy off of that, talking to whoever was with them last, basically. Okay, and a nurse practitioner can do it, to give you an idea. can sign off and decide the cause of death with a death certificate if they knew you were terminal or something like that. Okay, so like say that happens. I can't take my roommate and just throw him in a hole like he wants outside our house there by his dog because it is illegal. A mortician has to, by law, the guys at the funeral home, has to, by law, transport that body, which it wouldn't have to be transported. He said he'll just crawl in the hole and die there. You know what I mean? I said, it doesn't work like that, though, because it's illegal. And he's like, bullshit, because it's illegal. You cannot die in this state without the mortician getting a hold of your body first. And they take out your brain. Even though they say they don't take out the organs, we all know the organ trade is huge. Where do you think all them organs come from? Where do you think all the fucking blood that the vampires in Hollywood at the Batcave there, where do they get that from, you know? But literally, I found out of this stuff and it just appalled me. Because it's like, why couldn't we just do that? If it's not illegal to bury somebody shrouded in a sheet in the ground, and there's no law, not in any 50 states for that, anywhere to have a casket or anything, why is it so pressed and why do people feel so obligated to do it? Well, because you can't take that body to put them in their family plot or wherever it is that you want to put them. And even if you did want to do a natural burial, there's no cemetery that'll take it because they end up eventually filling up and they double bury you and they dig up the remains and whatnot. And then they consider it preserved in a coffin, which you last 80 years embalmed in a coffin. Why do you want to last 80 years in the ground? You want it to be naturally disintegrated, as opposed to being burnt in a kiln, you know? And there's so many things being exposed with that cemetery world and the mortuary world, which is morbid. It's a satanic ritual, and this is why I say that. Not only are they forcing grieved loved ones into taking and desecrating their family's body by dressing them up in whatever clothes and putting so much makeup on them they could be doing a drag show, which is just disgusting and weird to me. You know, back in the day, you used to come and view the body in the living room, and then you bury them, and then they found out a bunch of people were buried alive. You know, often being scratched up on the inside later on. Well, why did they know that? Because they dug up the graves and they built highways and they built supermarkets. And they tried to, the law is that they try to say that they're going to dig up your loved one. But even if you own that cemetery plot, there's annual fees and there's taxes on it that need paid, and that's how they do it. And once the government owns it, they do what they want anyway. You never really even own your land in the United States anymore, because if you don't pay your taxes, whatever they decide it is, well, if you're against zoning, they'll just take it anyway. So do we ever really own it? I hardly think so. So in order to have a body buried on a family plot, they call it, you would have to go down and sign a case-by-case basis. So I got to now contact the people down at the county and get a piece of paper, it's a permit, they call it, to do that. To have a family plot, they'll decide it on a case-by-case basis if it's allowed, which means that somebody's getting their palms buttered there and they're still getting the money. Okay, fine. So guy dies, we have a family plot, I throw him in the hole, you know, follow all the regulations, no big deal, right? No. The mortuary still comes and gets that body. It does God knows what to it. It takes the brain for sure. Even though they say they don't mess with the organs or nothing, but we all know that they're not. There's been scandals where body parts found outside the one mortuary there in Louisiana or wherever, where there's body parts being found, and it was from the funeral home, throwing them out to the alligators and giving people ashes that weren't their loved ones. That's how they treat the bodies. Then you got the guy in California, this was just last year, I think, 180 bodies found on the property, and then people were supposedly given ashes for their loved ones, so that means they were given fake ashes. They say they take the blood, though. This is the kicker. This is law here, and it differs by state. I'm in Indiana. They take the blood, and the mortuary people will drain it out, even though it's not illegal to bury you with your blood at all. I mean, there's no reason why they do that. They take your blood and put embalming fluid in it, in your body, which is poisonous. And there's a big problem now that they keep really quiet about the grave sites when we have high water like this. I'm going to show that water there, and then show the cemetery right here on this other side. The water seeps up into the graves, you know, occasionally, and then the body's literally decomposing at a rapid rate, and it's melting flesh and decomposing body, and formaldehyde, which leaks back into the groundwater then, and it's a bad carcinogen. They do a full suit when they're handling that formaldehyde. I know kids are smoking in joints, but they're probably not right now. You know what I mean? They probably get cancer from it, who knows? They're probably selling it to them too, at that. But that's neither here nor there. The point is, there's no reason why you have to do that. The formaldehyde only preserves the body once it's in the ground. It doesn't do anything to keep it longer than ice don't do. So that's just something to keep in mind. But they'll push that on you like it's got to be done. I always thought it was a law you had to be in certain things so it didn't poison the groundwater. But the laws are actually facilitating our groundwater getting poisoned and extracting all this money out of these grieving people. And you're buying and paying taxes for shit that you don't even own. They'll tell you you own it, they'll deed it, you'll pay taxes on it. But if that place goes bankrupt, nobody comes and sees them, they don't give a shit. The government takes it over and it changes it all anyway. You know, because that's what they fucked up. But they take that by law, is what they do. The mortician, they say, takes your drained blood that doesn't have to be drained. They just do that. You know, people could bury their loved ones within the 3-day or week period that they mandate if you want to do it naturally. If they didn't have all these laws that were stopping you, like you have to get this guy to say it's okay to get the permit to bury him here, or find a cemetery to bury them in, and nobody would do it because then they'd have to have a piece of land that they'd have to designate it just for them dead people, they say. Well, don't you do that anyway when you're selling plots? No, they can disturb you by taking your casket out, and then you're not being disturbed, they say, by law. They take your blood, and they take it to the municipality sewage waste treatment plant, which is where you get your water from. Your shit water, when you pay for your water, is your water, which is hard enough to grasp. And they put it in that. So essentially, if you die in America, everybody with municipal water that's in your area there is drinking your blood, which is completely against the religion. I'm a Christian. And God says not to drink the blood. Now, I don't care if they turn blood and make it into water, and they turn shit and make it into water. It's still not right. It's not right that they don't allow people to just bury their loved ones like how they wish, wherever they wish, when they're doing it anyway. They're doing it anyway, and then they're taking our organs and selling them. And you think that sounds like a conspiracy or a scandal, but it's not. It's 100% fact. That is what happens. Where do you think they get all the organs on the black market? You know, they're selling the blood to vampires, or they make be vampires. Who knows? That's why cemeteries close at night. You know, I don't know what that is, but like, I think it's very odd at the Bat Cave in Hollywood that none of the homeless people are camped there at all. They don't go up there at all after dark. You're not allowed up there after dark. And I thought, well, that's weird, you know. And a friend said, well, yeah, that's where the vampires live. And I kind of laughed about it, and then I realized that's where the Bat Cave is. All the caves that were in all the old movies that were the Batman is there. It's a big cave. It's called something, I forget. But like, that's not the point. The point is, if you die, they still own your ass, even though they'll say nobody owns that dead body. Even if you own your plot, you still don't own that dead body. But they make you, by law, have that mortician come and pick up your loved one. If they say they only take the brain, why is that? You know, if you're gonna be buried naturally and tomorrow or cremated, why? Well, it struck me as odd because in Hollywood there's a lot of hype about clones, you know, rappers being cloned and things. And one of them had said something about your pineal gland and where your conscience sits in your brain that holds all your memories. You know, so maybe there's a conspiracy with that. I personally think they want us to pay for all that money to preserve shit because they're doing something and hiding stuff in our bodies, and they know right where they are, and they know right what is there and how to locate it. Because even if you bury somebody on your own land, by the law, you have to have a grave marker. Even if you scatter somebody along a land in a lot of states, you have to file a paper with the Federal Trade Commission, who regulates all this. Federal again. There's like 6 permits or something to have a dead body. You're dead and you still got to get like 6 permits to die. Or your family members go to jail for disposing of a dead body, not properly reporting a dead body, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Even if they die in a hospital, if they will jail them for it. So you really got your hands tied if you're trying to do the right thing and honor wishes, even if you do it with all the right ways to do it. And so they're really fucking you. But like, where's our blood going? We're drinking it. Where's our organs going? They're selling it to fucking bad people that are making blow-up bitches and blow-up dudes, clone people, or to whoever, the rich people that need organs. That's not what it is. It's the demonic ritual is what it is. It's probably a little bit of all that, but the fact is that they make you mark the graves very specifically, and when they dig you up, they want to know who you are when they dig you up, and if you get buried in the ground naturally, they can't do that. So no cemeteries want to designate that land for that. Even if it was a natural land that grew up in, people were hippies and they wanted it that way. Just put me in dirt, I don't want no marker or nothing. You can't do it. They want to know exactly where to go find your shit at. Some people think it's because, oh, they want to be able to exhume you to whatever. No. They don't give a shit about that because you're stuffing dead bodies with clothes. They find out the scandals, are thick. They make about I don't know, I'm just guessing, at least $40,000 off the bodies of your loved ones. When you think that it's being honored and respected, that's a lie. And then they've already been caught, the Mortises have been caught in all these scandals, let alone the necrophiliacs. How do they know? Do you know how many necrophiliacs are in this world? How do they know that stat? It's not that they're catching people and trying to fuck some dead bones in the graveyard. They know that stat because they violated our privacy so much. They know what's going on anywhere and everywhere. And they're all part of it because the entity is the government, and the government entity is Satan and his gang. So I just wanted to open up people's eyes with that. That you can't do that. You can't just bury somebody without being desecrated by them weirdos. I think it's wrong.